theory. Let's talk about Villa. Come on.
Go on.
Arsenal bore me to death, if I'm honest. I really hate talking about Arsenal. But Villa, on the other hand, I do enjoy talking about. And this was a comeback that was necessary. And, whether they should have gone 2-0 down, we can speculate, really. And you can probably tell me your take on why they went 2-0 down. But to come back and make it 2-2 against a team that are considered potential champions at the start of the season. And Luca Dean and Matty Cash, I don't know what they're doing this season, but the balls they're pinging in from wide really helped, didn't they?
Yeah, I think it's a shame because Maatsen had a couple of really good appearances for Villa, got a start in this game, and then really struggled. So they had to go back to Luca Dean again. And I keep saying it, don't I?
Quality.
Villa seem desperate to replace Luca Dean, and they just can't because he's so good. Yeah, he made a massive difference. That left-hand side, it showed his maturity and his experience because in the first half, I've said before, we don't really play with a left winger. Ramsey's come back in and he kind of drifts to the left-hand side, but he also likes to come into central roles, letting the left fullback go forward a lot, which just seems to make sense for Maatsen. But because Martinelli was playing so high on that right, Maatsen seemed really nervous to go forward, and that meant Partey could come into the middle when we were getting overloaded there. Martinelli was pushing our defence back, and Maatsen was really struggling against him, and we weren't seeing any attacking threat coming down that left wing. Whereas when Luca Dean came on, he seems to manage both, and he seems to know Martinelli won't risk going that high if I do the same thing. And he's so positive with that, and his delivery, it's pinpoint every time. He's fantastic. And for that to be our route back into the game was huge. It was a great moment for the Tielemans as well. Yeah. He's been so fantastic this season, but to get a goal is huge. And then again, anyone that ever doubts Ollie Watkins, you don't know football because he's such an incredibly good forward. The kind of person that if Arsenal had gone and got at a time when he would have been more available, they'd win the league this year. I think it's that simple.
Definitely.
He's a superb forward. I keep seeing people go, oh, well, no player in the Premier League has missed more big chances than Ollie Watkins this season. What you miss from that stat is the players second and third are Haaland and Salah. What that tells me is actually we're talking about players that are getting themselves these chances really often. He's posted double figures again. It's the fifth year in a row. He's got 10 Premier League goals. He's outstanding. His finish was so good for this, and he really needed that. He peeled away from Thomas Partey incredibly well, fanned the space, and that's what Watkins is really good at. He said in his post-match he wants a world where him and Duran can play together. And we've tried Watkins out on the left before, and it's not ever really quite worked. I don't really know how you fit them both down the middle, like who drops out of the midfield. But our squad is looking thin at the moment, particularly in the midfield area. We had to bring Bogard on in central midfield in this game. Yeah. So you do wonder whether now is the time to maybe look at tweaking the shape.
Well, I just think the fact that Villa have pulled it back is a great testament to them, and the way they're performing still in a season where they're meant to be having a bit of an off season, really. They're doing well considering. I think even the likes of Watkins, people talking of his drop-off. If this is a drop-off, that's impressive. It shows the levels he's been at. But I'll let you have the last word on Villa, Dave. What about the final kind of moment, really? Should Arsenal have won it? Should it have been a winning goal? The deflection? Should it have counted?
I've seen a load of rubbish on social media about Arsenal fans complaining about it, saying it came off his stomach. If it bounces out like that, that's not come off his stomach. There's no way that's physically possible. If Villa could have arguably have won it. Obviously, Tielemans had that shot and just it came off the outside of the post. I thought they showed some really positive things, particularly in the second half. It was really fascinating actually to hear Ollie Watkins in post-match mention about, and they asked him about the finish, and he just said obviously he feels as though his finishing is better when he's acting in the moment and doesn't have too much time to think about. And you can see that actually, I think, at times in games. I think some of the chances he has missed is when he's through and he's had a bit too much time to probably think about what he's going to do. And I think in the moment, like Miles says, he gets himself into so many positions where he's able to act on those opportunities and score goals for them. And I just think that was a great point for Villa.
Huge point, yeah.
Just quickly worth mentioning, that goal, the Havertz handball, if you watch the angle from behind the goal, you clearly see it hits his hand. The other one, I can see why people will go, oh, does it hit his arm? Does it hit something? Well, just look at the other angle. It's really blatant. Like, there's no debate about it. You can really clearly see it. And Villa are back in the market again as well. It looks like they're getting rid of Diego Carlos. He's going to Fenerbahce, and they're bringing in. I'm gonna say it's pronounced Loic Bidet.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's an accent there.
He spent some time at Forest, didn't he?
Yeah.
And has looked excellent at Sevilla. Monchi obviously really rates him. He was the one that took him to Sevilla. I think he had a loan spell there when they won the Europa League, and he stayed. 24 years old, super strong, looks quite calm on the ball as well. And it's nice to see Villa are addressing a key area. But it's weird to me that they're doing it whilst selling a centre-back. Because at the moment, it's Konsa, Mings, and Bogard are probably the only ones. And he's now also playing as a defensive midfielder because Anana went off injured. We had no Barkley. The squad is looking very thin just as the Champions League's about to start again as well. Like, obviously, we've got Monaco next. Yeah. So they've got to move quickly in the market. We've got Daniel Marlin in, which I think is a great signing for the money.
Good strength,
It's a weird time to sign him. He's had a terrible season. If you look at his Bundesliga numbers this year, it's awful. But it fits Emery's recruitment model and Villa's recruitment model of bringing these young players in who really clearly have a much higher ceiling than they're currently reaching, and their value will only go up. I think we paid just over 20 million for Marlon.
Absolute bargain.
If he bangs a few goals in the Premier League, all of a sudden he's worth a lot more.
A quick one, just to address you mentioned about him tinkering with Digne and Maatsen.
Yeah.
Is there not a case there for him to try Maatsen ahead of Digne?
I've said that. I would love to see him play that left wing role because I think they could play really well together. The only problem I think you'd find is he will occupy a lot of the spaces that Luca Dean likes to get into when he moves forward, and I think that could be quite difficult. You've seen it a couple of times off the bench happen. Yeah. And Matty Cash has played as a right winger before while Konsa plays right back, so he's not opposed to having a more defensive player in that sort of role. I would love to see it, but I think more likely now Ramsey is fit, that's sort of his space, and when McGinn is back, you imagine he kind of fits one of the attacking roles as well. So there's good options there. I don't know what our strongest 11 is right now, and I'm not sure Emery does either. No. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. It's because there's a lot of players performing better than I think we thought they would. Like Duran, I think a lot of us assumed he was gone in the summer and now is unsellable, and the midfield depth has really shone. So yeah, it's interesting. It's really exciting.